Hey, it's Soul with another video, and well, I'm back. A little while ago, as in a few hours ago actually, I uploaded a video where I gave my feedback on Azerite traits, the new thing that was just introduced in the recent build for the Battle for Azeroth expansion, the alpha stuff. I gave my thoughts and concerns and asked questions. There are lots of open-ended things that I don't know about, and then I uploaded it, and then I looked at the comments, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I had a conversation with somebody. So the reason why I'm here again, I'm going to be talking about Azerite traits a little bit, but I'm going to now express a little bit of excitement, and it's all thanks to two of my guildmates. One of them is Shad, who expressed in a comment below in the previous video that, oh shoot, even Soul couldn't make this Azerite trait stuff exciting. And you know what?
The challenge is accepted, okay?
The other person is AJ, who is my rogue slash priest slash monk slash shaman. He's another one of my guildmates, and he helped to, I guess revive a thought in my head, or maybe like this is just a conversation that he helped to start, or it's just a thought. But anyway, he helped me to realize kind of the bright side of what's going on with these Azerite traits, and I wanted to share that with you really quick. I hope it's really quick. It's probably not going to be really quick, but I hope so. So again, I wanted to express my kind of excitement for Azerite gear by talking about the things that we lose. Yeah, I know. So before I go on, I at least want to state that the things that I did say in that previous video about, my concerns and all that stuff is still totally valid. I still think that the current traits that you're getting from this Azerite gear, they suck. There's just a lot more to be filled out. I don't think that Blizzard launched this first iteration of Azerite traits very well at all. I think it was just bad. And at best, those of us who are even trying to look at this in a neutral way, we're like, okay, let's just kind of wait for more of this stuff to be testable, but that sort of thing. And I'm not here to convince you or dissuade your fears, because like I said, those are still around, but I'm here to I want to at least help you understand where I'm coming from. And if you can at least leave a comment below by the end of this video and say, hey, you know what, I hear what you're saying, Soul, I get what you're saying, but these Azerite traits still suck, that's fine. I at least want you to get where I'm coming from. So there's been a lot of talk among players, among critics of the Battle for Azeroth, about how these Azerite traits are pushing out systems that we're accustomed to, such as the artifacts, such as set pieces, such as legendaries. It's like, oh my god, they're pruning so many things, and now they're putting in this whack job sort of system in the form of these Azerite gear and these traits and the heart of whatever the heck it is, and so on and so forth. But AJ helped to point out to me, and hopefully I'm not getting his thought wrong, and this whole conversation that we had, I hope I'm not misinterpreting it, but the artifact weapon and the set bonuses, legendaries are funny enough okay in this kind of conversation, but the artifacts and the set bonuses, what they did in Legion gameplay, and when it came to gearing the meta and all that, what it did, in my opinion, is that it hamstrung your ability to customize your character. So here is a not so great example, but probably the best one that I can give because of my perspective. Boom, prop paladin tank. That's the truth guard. That's my artifact weapon. Whoop-de-doo. There are two gold traits that I'd like you to pay attention to. One of them is Bulwark of the Order. That's whenever I throw my Avenger Shield, it creates a bubble and it protects me. It absorbs damage. Whoop-de-doo. The other one, and at a smaller scale, is Tears Enforcer. That's whenever I hit something with my Avenger Shield, it explodes and it does a little teeny bit of damage to enemies. What that meant throughout Legion gameplay is that Avenger Shield is a very cool ability to use. In pretty much any situation, it was literally part of the rotation. On top of that, during the Tomb of Sargeras raid, the set bonus that I had allowed me to refresh my Avenger Shield kind of random willy-nilly. I was basically able to throw my shield a heck of a lot more than normal, which made my Bulwark of the Order work out better, which improved my Tears Enforcer damage. Basically, it synergized really well. On top of that, there was the legendary that I have, Tyleka's Legs, whatever it's called, which made me hit more than 3 targets. It made me hit up to 5, depending on if I could actually hit 5 targets. So what that did was make Avenger Shield a very central part of my gameplay as a protection paladin. Now, let's take this example, let's throw that thing out the window, and I'd like for you folks at home and on the toilet to think for yourselves what other abilities, whether they're gold traits or whether they were just kind of the regular traits in your artifact that felt really important and felt really impactful for your class. And at the same time, I would also like you to think about just how, if it is applicable in this case, did that mesh with your set bonuses throughout Legion? So the argument, again, that I'm presenting is that artifact weapons and set bonuses, they kind of limited your choice as to how you wanted to gear because you really wanted to try to maximize your strengths. And that's not a bad thing. That's like centric to any sort of gameplay when it comes to MMOs or just anything where you just want to min-max. That's totally fine, there's nothing wrong with that. When we add legendaries into the mix, then we get into a sort of conflict, which again is not a bad thing. This is just kind of the gameplay that we all chose to play with. You get into this kind of conflict where you're trying to shuffle between your set bonus and your legendaries because you want everything to line up in such a way that you can, again, min-max. You can maximize all your throughput, all your healing, your mitigation, all that stuff. And somewhere all the way in the background are our talents. And talents in this case, at least I'm going to express my opinion on this, it was just kind of a thing that we set really quick to help either suit ourselves for the situation at hand, like depending on what sort of encounter that we're going to encounter, or to otherwise supplement our artifact weapon, or to supplement our set bonus. The thing with set bonuses, and to a lesser degree, artifact weapons, there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room at all when it comes to trying to customize your character. Upgrading the traits on your artifact weapon are set in stone. You just kind of go right through, right to the end, start pumping into your concordance, and you have 4 points and like everything else with the exception of relics. But even then, that's still just kind of an incremental change to your class or spec. Set bonuses were also pretty much locked to the tier that you were participating in at the time, unless in this case with like Titan Forging, maybe you wanted to go back to the previous tier and farm that until you get a Titan Forge piece and so on and so forth. But going to the conversation of just being stuck with a certain set bonus is the argument that I'm trying to push here, okay? Somewhere in this overexcited ramble of mine is the point that I'm trying to make, where again, you're kind of locked to your artifacts or to your set bonus or both. To a lesser extent, legendaries play in, but you can kind of swap those around. It would just get kind of chaotic if it happened to interfere with your set bonus, and talents, you can just change those willy-nilly, no problem. Now, come to Battle for Azeroth, we lose almost all that stuff. All we have left are the Azerite trait things, this impressive little box of nothing, as well as our talents. So this does two things. One is more obvious than the other. One is that we just lose all that stuff. We lose our artifacts, we lose the traits, we lose the set bonuses. Oh no, that's not entirely a good thing. The other thing that it does though, and this is what the conversation that AJ and I had, is that it opens up the ability for Azerite traits and our talents to really shine. Our perspectives are going to be very different with this argument because not every class and spec are made equal, not every talent is enjoyed by every class, but by taking away these very fixed positions of artifact weapons and the abilities that they give and the set bonuses and whatever bonuses that those give, by taking those fixed things out and leaving the modular stuff in, as in your talents and your Azerite stuff, that gives some really cool possibilities for all these sorts of customization options, different sorts of gameplay. But of course, let's quickly turn that around. It might hella suck. The impressions that we got with this first iteration of Azerite traits gives many of us, I'm sure, a pretty kind of feeling. But thanks to AJ and thanks to just kind of thinking about this and sitting for a bit, it does instill me with a little bit of hope for the possibilities. Let's go back to my Protection Paladin for a second, although again, this is a pretty bad example. A lot of what a Protection Paladin was about throwing the Avenger Shield and making cool things happen because of it. In one of my talent rows, I can choose either First Avenger, which makes my Avenger Shield stronger, which is, you know, pretty cool, or I can choose Crusader's Judgment, which gives me 2 charges of Judgment, and, well, kind of cool things happen there too. Now, even though that might be a cool talent, our artifact didn't really reflect that very well. I mean, cool, it gave us a little bit more of a crit chance on it. That's kind of nice. The set bonus from the Tomb of Sargeras had a little bit of synergy with Judgment, but after playing with it for a little while, the talent just, for me, it just didn't quite work out, and I went back to First Avenger anyway. Now, throwing that example aside again, I'm focused on the excitement and the possibility that there might be, again, some really cool bits of synergy between the Azerite traits and our talents. Because really that's all we have left. But again, it opens up some pretty cool possibilities. What if at some point we can get some really cool Azerite traits that can enhance, let's say, our judgment? This is just another in a series of bad examples, but what if we had Long Arm of the Law back again? If you guys don't know or remember what that is, Long Arm of the Law is an old talent where when you throw a judgment, you have a speed increase that lasts for about 3 seconds, and it was a pretty cool way to close in on targets and such. But that, for one example, could be a very cool paladin-specific sort of talent that can go somewhere in that Azerite tree. We already see that there's something similar to Bulwark of the Order in the Azerite tree, although it sucks. But also what's built into that tree right now is kind of a free Pride As, or if you want to call it Sacred Shield, an old pally skill, then that's cool too. In the Battle for Azeroth, we're not going to have an artifact weapon or a set bonus that's going to centralize our gameplay around a very small set of skills. And I'm pretty confident that there are in fact a lot of classes and specs that are really centered around what their artifact abilities are or what their set bonuses are. Moving this sort of customization to the Azerite traits is potentially an extremely cool thing. It's also, you know, potentially extremely like shit too. So I'm still worried, I'm still anxious, but on the other side, I'm really excited about this again too. So one point of additional feedback that I have for Blizzard is to take the idea of some of these spec or class centric abilities and just go to town with them. Really focus on making those things like really cool. So that way when we do try to get into the meta of trying to pick and choose the kind of Azerite gear that we want to pair up, that we can develop some really awesome combinations. On the one hand, it would be cool to kind of have a sort of set that could be around like our Avenger Shield or whatever your favorite ability or combination is, and have that centered around gear that you only get from raids. But at the same time, it's not like it has to be from raids that you get the best kind of gear. You can have a really cool combination that you would also get by jumping around the different Mythic Plus dungeons and getting a high level combination that makes you do a really cool thing with your skills and abilities and talents too. So I hope somewhere in this ramble of mine that I made some sense, and if I did, even if you don't agree, and if you still haven't been, you know, if you're still really worried about what's going on with these Azerite traits, please continue to be worried and keep giving in your input. But if you at least get the gist of what I'm talking about, whew, thumbs up. Okay, great. So I think that's about all that I've got to say for now. Sorry for doing like a second video on the same day about the same freaking subject, but I really wanted to get this out because, again, this got me excited about Azerite traits again. I'm really hopeful. If you haven't looked at the previous video, I'll have a link below where you can take a look at it, where I share, where I do share my concerns. So definitely take a look at that. And otherwise, I'll see you folks for the next build when we get another set of Azerite traits, and we'll try talking about that too and see if I'm right or if I'm right about the other thing. So yeah. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Like and sub to support the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and as always, stay breezy.